Hello everybody. We are, well, he's going to be focusing on the road.
Sometimes.
The whole time. We're currently en route to...
Somewhere.
I think we'll actually film 2 separate videos. Today we'll do this Q&A for today, and then we'll release a kind of like mini travel vlog of where we're going. So that's top secret as of right now. So we asked you guys to leave us a bunch of questions. Actually, there was like 700 questions. Or something.
This might be a long video.
Yeah, it was a lot of questions. I wasn't expecting so many, and I wish that we could answer all of them. So what I did was I used my finger and I scrolled as fast as I could, and then I took screenshots and used my finger and I took screenshots because I wanted to just pick them at random. Yeah, there's like 671 comments on this thread. So thank you so much to you guys for asking all those questions. And hopefully the camera's not too shaky because I have it up on the dash. Okay, so let's start with question number 1. How was it for William to start reading the Quran?
Difficult. It was actually very difficult. Because for myself, I don't, we live in Canada, where the country's bilingual, but I don't speak French. I can't read French, nothing to do with French. So I'm like no frills English. That's all. There's nothing fancy about it. It's yeah. So to learn a language that doesn't use ABCs, was very difficult. But at the same time, I'm someone that when I jump into something, I go feet first and I just go at it hard. So I think.
Did you learn how to recite it though before you learned how to read it?
So I learned. Well, yeah, I memorized with the transliteration. Yeah. And then after that, then I went back after I learned how to read it and corrected, the mistakes within what I'm reading. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was difficult. But at the same time, if you're willing to, I've had Arab people tell me that my recitation is better than many. His recitation
Arabs. Is very nice. So for those of you that might not know, just go back into the How We Met video. But in there, you'll kind of see that it was his recitation of the adhan that caught my mom's attention.
Yes.
So that's exactly how we became a couple. Okay, so that was a good question. I really like that one. So here's another one. Are Muslims vegetarians, or do they just not eat certain meats? So we cannot eat pork
under any circumstance. Unless you're starving to death. There are concessions.
If there's nothing on
There's
earth
nothing left to eat.
And then as for vegetarians, there's a lot of Muslims that are vegetarian simply because of the fact that most of the world doesn't live like we do in the Western world, and they just don't have meat as accessible to them as
especially in places like Europe, where it's not, I won't say Islamophobic, but it's much more difficult for Muslims. But.
Yeah, and same like Pakistan, the diet is mostly veggie based.
Yeah,
so.
Well, meat costs a lot of money too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that's why you'll find a lot of people that eat those things. But at the same time, we have to understand that it is a requirement upon us as Muslims to sacrifice an animal, a qurbani sacrifice, for Eid al-Adha, and distribute that to the poor and needy. So
and all the meat has to be halal.
You don't have to eat it, but it is a requirement that you do make that sacrifice once a year for those people who may never in that whole year even eat meat. I know that her dad always sends money to Pakistan, and it feeds people that literally are so poor it's the only meat they'll have in the year. So it's an absolute blessing.
So for those of you that don't know, the meat that we eat is halal. It has to be slaughtered in according to halal regulations. So growing up, it was really hard to get halal meat, but it's way more accessible now, especially that we live in Toronto. It's super easy to find halal meat. But we actually have a whole podcast episode about food. Mm-hmm. So if you are interested in that, I will link it below in the description, and you can go and listen to it. It's an hour long where we just talk about food and the Muslim diet. So okay, so how old are your kids?
Girls, how old are you?
I'm 5.
You're very quiet.
I'm 3. Except Zainab turns 4 next week.
Oh, happy almost birthday, boo-boo.
So, very close to me. And Amina's almost 6. So, where do you guys live? Which country? We are Canadian. Born and raised.
You're from Canada, eh?
Canada, eh? How old are you guys? I'm 29.
I'm less than that.
He just turned 35.
It hurts so much more when you hear somebody say it.
Okay, this is something for both of you. What is something that shocked you the most about each other's cultures?
Well, for her, I'm going to say nothing.
Nothing, because I grew up
her culture is my culture.
like him. Yeah, exactly.
For me, the biggest shock for me, because I've traveled in Pakistan fairly extensively, I guess.
More than me.
The biggest shock for me was when I'm walking down the street and a fully grown dude with a big beard just casually slips his hand into my hand and holds my hand.
Must have been really awkward. I've never seen that.
Oh yeah.
I don't feel like that's a part of the culture because I haven't seen it.
See, but so this
that must have been really
interestingly
weird.
enough, this was my friend that I traveled there with, who's probably 15 years older than me.
Yeah.
He's like my spiritual father, essentially.
Yeah. And he just slipped his hand into your...
And I was like, whoa.
Mind you, he's married with a child,
yeah,
so it's okay.
Well, that's the culture, right? There's nothing...
It was like a kind, like a gesture.
How do you say that? It's not like an intimate thing between men. It's just like, here, it's just not common, but over there, men hold hands, and it's not just there. There's a lot of other countries and cultures that do that as well. But for me, that was the big shock.
Is it difficult to be a Muslim in a non-Muslim country? And did you find your former workplaces to be accommodating towards your daily prayers, fasting, etc. for Eid? So I'll quickly speak to that because I am not as brave as William is. When I worked as a social worker 6 years ago, I worked for the government, and I was really embarrassed to ask to have accommodations to pray, so I would just sneak away and go and pray. And sometimes that meant in my car, sometimes that meant closing my office door and just praying really quickly, making sure no one comes in the room. William is the complete opposite. Like, he just prays in front of everyone. He's not shy, which is great.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
But
it is hard. Like, it is definitely hard.
It's one of those things because I think in today's day and age, I think we are more scared as Muslims to ask than our management is to actually accommodate.
It's actually true. Because we're nervous.
Yeah, anytime, like just as an example, when I started working as an aircraft maintenance engineer, day 2, I think it was time for Maghrib, the sunset prayer. So you don't have much time. You have to pray at a specific time. Yeah. And I just literally took my prayer mat at the end of our table, my crew's table, in the lunchroom at lunchtime.
And started praying.
I was working night shifts, obviously. That's why the sunset prayer. But just threw it at the end of the table, and I just prayed. And I know everybody was like, "What the hell?
Yeah, like, what is this guy doing?
What is this white boy doing? He's
that
confused.
Was on your first day?
Second day.
Second day.
Yeah. So, but after that, my crew chief, he's like, "Hey, he's like, I don't want you to do that here." I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's this cool dude from South Africa.
Yeah. So
white guy. Yeah, well, he grew. Yeah, he would have. But so he said, no. He said, you're trying to pray and you're trying to connect with God, and you have people here. Maybe they're saying things. Maybe it's hard for you to concentrate. Yeah. So he's like, come here, and he took me and he showed me a place where I could pray in peace and not have to worry about people. So, but at that time, from that point on, everyone knew I'm a Muslim and I pray, and it just became, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think that it's no different than anybody else and the things that they do that are specific to them, even as like a non-religious or just a regular person. There's things about you, quirks about you that people just accept because that's who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that we as Muslims have to hold on to that identity, that my salah, my prayer, it is who I am, and it's something that I must do. And when you accept it, everyone else will accept it. You're going to have the few people who are racist and bigots, but for the most part, I've never had a problem.
What are your opinions on other religions besides Islam, and do you believe other religions go to heaven when they die?
It's a deep question.
It's a really, really deep question.
Start?
So what do I think of other religions? I totally 110% respect other religions. Growing up, I grew up in a community where there was literally a church, a Sikh temple, and a mosque in the same area. So everyone was very friendly. Like, our community was super, super friendly, very kind.
To interject just for a moment, a lot of people hear us talk about where we grew up as mostly white people.
Yeah, but the neighborhood was very diverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, our neighborhood, a very white town.
And we didn't grow up in the same town.
Yeah, that's true. But so my neighborhood was very diverse. There was a lot of brown people, a lot of Pakistanis, a lot of Indians, and a lot of white people. But the city itself was very white. And you know, there's one street in particular in that town that I grew up in that has like 20 something churches. I can't remember exactly, but yeah. So, you know, growing up, like I highly respect other religions. You know, in the Quran, Allah says that, like, to you is your religion and to me is mine, and we can live in peace and harmony and coexist and respect each other. And that is something that it's a core value I've always had. As for the second part on who goes to heaven, I don't even know if I'm going to make it to heaven. So we believe that God is the ultimate judge and that he judges us according to our deeds. So if your deeds are higher than mine, you never know.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, in terms of the religion in and of themselves, I mean, there's definitely things that we disagree with, and that's the same way for other people following another religion, that they disagree with our faith. The key points to understand, like she said, is the coexist part. Our faith doesn't, for example, in the rules of warfare, you know, Islam is a complete system, an entire way of life. Therefore, things like what happens if you do go to war, are there rules? And in Islam is one of, if not the first, to come up with rules of engagement. And one of those rules is that you cannot attack places of worship of other faiths.
It's a very respected thing.
You can't attack. You can't kill, for example, a priest or a rabbi or whatever. Those are just obviously separate. Those are for war, rules of engagement, etc.
But the example is used
exactly
to show you the respect.
Exactly, and we look to the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. You know, and when Christians would come seeking his help, and what, you know, the treaties that were made with them, or the treaties with the Jews, that we believe our faith to be correct, but it doesn't give us the right to stomp upon other people's religious beliefs, because at the end of the day, let's just say if our faith is correct, then how would I ever guide someone towards truth through anger, through, you know, humiliation and all of those sort of things? It wouldn't be that way. In terms of do we believe that other people will go to heaven? That's a very philosophical question, because there's just so many sides and angles to that question. We believe that Muslims, at the end of the day, we don't know if we're going to go to heaven or to hell, if we will be punished or if we will be rewarded. That's why our life is a continuous struggle to do good in this world. So we know that Allah, God Almighty, merciful. God is the most merciful, God is the most just.
A few moments later.
So we had a bit of a boo-boo because the camera was in the direct sunlight. He got cut off mid-sentence, so I don't know if it all made sense where he was, but that's okay. So we're moving on.
At the end of the day, God is the judge. I don't know if I'm getting there, and do good, be good, and hope for the best. And always seek truth. That's the key thing to understand. Mm-hmm. Always seek the truth in this world, and you know, God willing, you will find it, and we'll be successful in the next life.
This one is for Sana. Are you personally friends with women who aren't Muslims, or do you keep your circle of friends as Muslim-like only, and do you hang out with women who don't wear hijab? So this is a really good question. Majority of my friends are non-Muslim, actually. My bestest friend my entire life was non-Muslim. She's Sikh. And what do I think of women that don't wear hijab? I didn't wear hijab for 20 plus years. It doesn't bother me at all. I think I love women and my friends for who they are. I don't judge them according to what their religion is or anything like that. I have so many amazing friendships with women that are non-Muslim and Muslim too. But it's literally a non-topic for me in terms of you have to be Muslim to be friends with me. I'll be friends with you if you're an awesome person. And that's it. We just have to connect on that level, if you know what I mean. Sorry if you guys have answered this before, but do you guys celebrate birthdays, and will your girls have birthday parties, etc.? Do you do gifts? Love you guys. We love you too. So we do celebrate. We take the opinion that celebrating birthdays is okay as long as we're not doing like ritual stuff. Like we don't do blowing out candles, but we do gifts. And we do dress them up in pretty dresses, and we do have friends over, and we do dinner and a cake and stuff like that, but we don't do candles. So to sum it up, yes.
Do fireworks instead.
This is for you, Will. I'd like to know if you chose to be a Muslim for yourself, or did you convert to marry your wife? I'm on a journey myself, and I know I'll choose for myself because my parents are gone. So sorry. And I'm alone So God keeps me, but I'm on a journey trying to figure things out. Stay blessed. So, did you convert for yourself or for me?
I converted for myself, honestly. Like, again, we've answered this question quite a few times, but if I got married, if I became Muslim just to get married, I wouldn't. I mean, how strong would my faith be at this point? Anybody who knows me knows that I've spent at least the last decade of my life preaching my faith to the world. And in the beginning it was on a small scale, and now it's on a fairly large scale. And I've been the acting imam in our masjid, leading the salah for years. Preaching, teaching Islam to non-Muslims and kids and schools, and so it's one of those things where you gotta find your way. Technical difficulty.
When he makes a turn on the road, the camera just slides. I need to buy one of those things that holds the camera in place.
But so just to kind of sum it up, is that God will guide you however He sees fit.
Yeah.
So, God chose to put her in my life, obviously, for a reason. So that reason was to expose me to what is Islam, and from that point on, my journey began.
Very cool.
So definitely they're intertwined, but no, I didn't just be like, I'm going to convert to marry her.
Yeah.
Because I converted, 5 years before we even got married.
Yeah.
So.
Also, if you want to hear his full story on how he became Muslim, I'll put that in the description of this video as well. What would you recommend for someone interested in learning more about Islam, books, podcasts, lectures, etc.? We actually have a whole podcast episode for new Muslims and kind of what we recommend on how you get started. So I'll have to link that in the description as well. But our favorite series, if you want to listen to really, really, really empowering, very inspiring, get ready for tears lectures, there's a series titled Muhammad Day 1 to Day 30 by Mufti Menk. Incredible.
I would suggest even better is Omar Suleiman and his series that he just did.
Muhammad as well.
Talking about the Prophet Muhammad, because they're only 10 minutes, but they're mind-blowing to learn the character. And I always say to people that rather than trying to understand the faith, first understand the person who was chosen to bring that faith to us.
That's right.
Because in his life, it is the living embodiment of our faith.
Yeah.
And it's a practical example of a Muslim, of the best Muslim.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'll link all that in the description for you.
There's going to be a lot of links in that description.
I have to remember to do all of that. Is it weird when everyone else is celebrating Christmas and you are not? I haven't celebrated Christmas not one time in my entire life.
I did for 22 years.
Yeah, so this question's more for you.
Is it weird? No. That's like saying, is it weird for you when Diwali takes place? Or when Eid takes place?
Or Hanukkah.
Or Hanukkah, or all of these different religious holidays. Where we live, Christmas is a big deal. Mm-hmm. But we know when we recognize that we don't live in a Muslim country and that people do things differently and they celebrate their faith in the way that they choose to. We don't participate in those acts of worship. But it doesn't mean we can't be happy for other people.
This one's for William. Have you ever felt to follow your ex-religion again, like celebrating Christmas with your daughters, etc.? He didn't have a religion.
My ex's religion?
Your ex-religion.
No, I never had a religion. So
he was atheist.
So it's like basically to answer on the question honestly is that if you were blind and then God gifted you with the ability to see, would you want to go back to being blind after you were able to see the beauty of the world around you?
Aww.
So that's how I would answer that question.
That's pretty sweet.
So the answer is no.
Do you follow a particular curriculum to homeschool your girls? I'd love to know heaps more about how you do homeschooling, as I want to do it for my 4-year-old. So we are so blessed and so lucky. I have a really good friend who is a Ontario qualified teacher, and she's also Muslim, and she's also got kids of her own, and she now does the whole curriculum for us monthly. She literally sends us a box of every single day broken down for the lessons, and we do them, and
They're so cute.
it's just incredible. And she because obviously she's Muslim, she centers it by seasons, so it's like a fall theme, and then the spring theme, and summer and winter.
Ramadan.
Yeah, but there's no Christmas or anything like that. It's just like she adds Eid and Ramadan, and it's just like so amazing.
Girls,
so,
you guys like your monkey box and your bear box?
Yeah.
Oh, come
So-
on, a little more enthusiasm. Scream it.
Yeah.
How do you raise your children in a non-Muslim country where there is so much negativity? We homeschool.
Yeah.
We're definitely those parents that I know there's going to be people that will disagree with us, and that's fine. Everybody kind of parents their kids in their own way, but we want to always protect our children. So for us, that means, keeping them at home for the first few years of their spongy life, where they're most influenced, and give them everything that they could ever need. We are currently on a dirt road, so if it's like extremely bumpy, forgive us. This was the #1 asked question. Do you guys plan on having any more kids? I'm sure a little boy would be a great addition to your family. Do you want to answer that one?
We have no plans, but we put it in God's hands.
Yeah, just
So-
like our other 2 babies.
Yeah.
Allah just made it happen. So, we're not closed off to the idea, and we're not fully open to the idea. So whatever happens, happens by the will of Allah. Wow, I wish you guys could see this view,
But you can't.
but you can't. Have you ever thought about going to live in a Muslim country like the UAE?
No, not the UAE.
But a Muslim country, yes.
Their dogmatic views on religion. So Malaysia would be the place where we would live,
Yeah.
because they're much more. The feel of what it is to be a Muslim in that country is much more natural.
Yeah.
It's not like this like dark cloud that hangs over your head that controls every aspect of who and what you are, because that's not what Islam is all about. Malaysia, it fits with who we are and what we are, and
Yep.
so that would be it.
And we've talked about Malaysia many times.
Once or twice.
Once or twice. Okay, so we were just informed by a subscriber that she was our 500,000th subscriber.
Wow.
So as we're sitting here enjoying the beautiful weather, we just discovered we hit 500,000 on YouTube!
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Crazy.
I'm blown away at this community, and we're so grateful for all of you, and we're so happy you guys stick around and listen to us and enjoy our content. So thank you guys.
Absolutely. So we're going to continue our Q&A now that we're
Yeah.
here and set up somewhere.
Yes,
Somewhere.
somewhere. How would you suggest Muslim youth to find a future spouse? I don't want to use the word dating, but I mean like meeting someone first of all and getting to know them. It's tough not knowing people's intentions or knowing someone's true personality. Coming out of college, it seems super hard to meet anyone, let
Yeah.
alone get married.
I think a lot of the times it has to do with the age-old tradition of family, right? And I know people are like arranged marriage. No, it's not arranged marriage, but it's a marriage that is at least organized with the help of other people.
That's arranged.
No, arranged is like you're gonna marry this person. The other way is like, oh, well, your dad's friend has a son, and your dad knows the father, so he knows the son. He knows about, what his intentions are, if he's just a reckless kid, if he's, partying and drinking and stuff, or if he's, genuinely someone who's in the same kind of boat as you.
Alternatively, though, so there are Islamic Muslim, I guess you could call like marriage matrimony apps. So Muzmatch is one, Salam app is another, and most of them have really good security features so that you are kept safe on there, and they'll match you kind of by your compatibility, so much so that it'll even go into detail like, do you wish to be with someone that is practicing Islam, praying 5 times a day, or
which at the end of the
those
day, you
types of
should
things.
all hope if
Yeah.
you're a Muslim youth and you're looking to get married, everything else will fade. Money will go away, beauty will fade, everything you can imagine. But at the end of the day, your faith is what will keep you strong, and your faith is what will help you get through those difficult situations, and that's something that will only grow over time. The prerequisite should be first and foremost somebody who is practicing Islam, because if they're not, then they won't fulfill your rights as a wife or as a husband or as a father or as a son. You need to know what the rights are before you can actually fulfill them.
And we have friends that have met on those apps and have very successful, happy marriages. So just be careful and don't do things that you're not supposed to do. And
know that,
inshallah.
I mean, in anything that you do, you can do it the right way, you can do it the wrong way. Whether that's meeting someone, you know, even if you have a wali or you have someone that's there, chaperone, you can still go sideways with it. You can still exchange numbers and you can still create a relationship outside of what is permissible, right? So you have to be careful and you have to do the proper way.
Okay, so here's a good one. What was the most embarrassing moment for both of you, or have you ever met a weird fan?
Most embarrassing moment?
It's a hard one.
I don't really get embarrassed easy, so I don't have one.
I don't think I really have like an embarrassing moment. As
I mean, the whole system of childbirth can be embarrassing.
Yeah, I guess.
Depending on your situation.
I really didn't care at that point, though.
I know. It's embarrassing looking back, but it is what it is. Gotta have babies.
It is what it is.
Embarrassing or a weird fan? No.
I wouldn't say weird.
No, I'd say that the weirdest part is when we post a video and people are like, "Oh my God, I saw you there, but I didn't want to come and say hi to you."
Yeah, that's the weird part.
Yeah.
It's like,
if you see us, come say hi.
Yeah, if you see us, come say hi.
If you're a fan, and I mean, we're just human beings, so if you guys do see us, or you see us making content or whatever, come and say hi.
Yeah, come and say hi, because it's weird after the fact when people are like, "I saw you today, but I didn't want to say hi," or "I saw you at this store," and then it's like, "But who's watching us?" You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So always come and say hi, because we're just normal people, like totally 110% normal people. How do you discipline your kids and at the same time show that how you care for them? That's a good one.
Well, we don't use physical discipline. Never have, never will.
No,
I don't think neither of us were physically disciplined as children.
No, never.
Not even a chappal for you?
Not even a No. Our style of parenting, we are very attached to our kids. So if our kids are ever having a tantrum, like what kids don't have tantrums, or if they're just having a hard time, things like that, they actually reach out to us to give them a hug, because that's what calms them down. And at times it can be hard, like if they didn't listen or if they did something they weren't supposed to do. And at times it's like, I'm disappointed in you, you know? And the disappointment, just to them hearing that we are disappointed in them is like earth-shattering.
Disappointed in their action.
Yeah, in their action. Yeah,
we never tell it. We never
say like, we
never browbeat our children. We never, get mad at them in public, because they're fragile little emotional structures of human beings.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. You never, a lot of the times I will, like for example, yesterday, Sana left. She had to go to do the photo shoot for our business, and Zainab had a meltdown because she had to share the iPad, and it was just, I want mama, I want my face buried in the pillow, crying. So I picked her up and I took her outside and I sat with her on the front porch and we just talked, and we talked through the issue, and then to the point where she was calmed down now, and then we just went back like nothing had ever happened. I think that kids are people and they need to be spoken to. A great way that I found, not that I always use it, but is that, for one, like raising your voice doesn't do anything except make the situation worse.
Yeah.
But if you lower your voice and you get
super
very quiet and you get right in front of their face, it has a completely different effect. They're like, whoa, like you're getting down to my level, and it's very serious. You don't have to be in a mean voice or an angry voice, but I find that kids really take that to heart.
Like if they're really loud somewhere where they're not supposed to be loud.
Yelling
instead of yelling, we'll go up to them really close and be like, Amina, you're supposed to be quiet here. And that instantly gets their attention. Yeah. Especially if you're like right in front of their face. So yeah, that's a good one for sure. What's the one junk food that everyone enjoys in your family? Chips. Everybody enjoys chips.
I don't care.
We also enjoy chocolate.
I'll eat it.
Chocolate or chips?
Me, well, I'm a sweet and salty kind of person, so for me, chocolate covered pretzels is probably my favorite. Like the rolled gold ones.
That's not what everyone enjoys.
I don't care.
That's not what the question
is.
The question is what's something everyone enjoys. The kids don't even eat those.
I don't care. Exactly. Buy them, and it's like, I bought these for everybody, and they're like, we don't like those, and I'm like, yeah, I know, so I get to eat the whole bag.
Okay, last question. Willie. That's what they called you, Willie. Will you recite some verses from the Quran for us? Let's end it off with that. Come on, don't be shy.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين صدق الله العليم.
Amin. That was so beautiful.
That's for you, whoever that was.
That's amazing.
That one's for you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's Q&A. I wish we could have gone through the 700 comments and answered everyone, but this video would be extremely long, and it's already extremely long.
Yeah. So we can save those for another day.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.